Welcome to Birthing Purpose with Lana. I am so glad to be back here having these awesome interviews. I have not done an interview in a year and it is just long overdue, but I am so grateful to have here today Nicole D. Miller. She is a five-time self-published author, blogger, and novelist. She is also a freelance writer for Cleveland, where she writes positive stories of hope and hosts Girl Talk, which is a podcast that edifies and nourishes women leaders through dialogue. Additionally, she owns ND Miller Publishing, Nicole D. Miller Publishing, which is a hybrid book publishing company where she specializes in assisting debut authors with manifesting their book dreams. Thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, yes. So thank you too for hosting the first indie author expo in Cleveland, Ohio.
You got in at the right at the right time, right?
I know, right? I did. Yes, I'm like, I got this is amazing. This is for self-publishers. I'm one, I got to get in. And it was funny because I was actually fasting when I got your email that says, hey, because initially you were booked. You were just booked. And
Was
the answer was sorry. And I just felt like while I was on this fast, God made a way. And
yes.
during this 3-day fast, I get this email from you, and you're like, hey, you're still interested? And I was like, oh, thank you, God. So yes, and it was amazing. It was awesome. I had a great time, met some great people. It was wonderful. So thank you
It's
for
so encouraging to hear, especially since I told you guys the backstory, how it was inspired by a negative experience I had. So to redeem that and offer a space for others to actually be edified, get some books, make great connections was my heart. So it worked.
It did. It worked. Well, everything was top notch. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I wanted to talk to you because when I was looking at some of your books, it was about love, and that's my thing. And I saw the one that really caught me was, A Love After Heartbreak. And
Mhm.
and then I know you've got your new book that you
Mhm.
just dropped. You want to tell us a little bit about the new one that you just dropped?
Sure. So I just released my sophomore novel, Unfinished Business Lisa. And Lisa is, interestingly enough, she was birthed in my first fiction book, Stories for the Urban Soul. At that time, she was a divorcee, a single parent, music journalist, and she was pining for her ex, but ends up having a new beau on the scene. And that's really just a short story. And then the next story is the new beau story. And we learn more about him. But they're in this venue called Devon's Cafe, which is a black-owned cafe in Harlem, New York. And it inspired the series to do all of these different characters in that area, including the owner, Devon. And so, even though Lisa, we kind of get a glimpse of her in urban stories, she pops back up in my first novel, When Love Wins. So, she makes a cameo appearance. So, this novel fleshes out what happens to her after that short story ends. What happens after she makes her decision? I won't ruin it in case you read the short story, but she makes her decision regarding her love life. She has this supernatural encounter with God and she's obedient and all the things. So that's what Unfinished Business Lisa is about. It's like, okay, what takes place after she makes that decision? Now she's remarried. Now she's pregnant. Now she has an older child. And so the interesting thing is, I thought a lot of it was going to be about because the ex pops back up. So
Mm.
I thought a lot of it was going to be about that, but it really was about her estrangement from her father. So I really dove into her parental relationships, and there's some traumatic things that happened and how she grows spiritually through that. So a lot of my books deal with inner healing
Hmm. Hmm.
and repairing relationships, growing spiritually, but they're very flavorful. So it's very like our language, our fashion, our in terms of Black community, Black culture, and really down to earth. So just kind of showing like God in the midst of our humanity, love with skin on. These people are love with skin on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
there.
one of the things I heard you say was, I thought it was going to be this, but it ended
Yeah.
up being that. So do you get your leading from God? Like what leads you in your writing? What guides you?
And I'll say, you may have heard this term. So there are two types of writers. You have the outliners who kind of like, I know this and this and this is going to happen. So let me sit here and do my outline and make it work. Then you have the free writers. Some of them are called fly by the seat of your pantsers. So they'll call us pantsers.
Okay.
I'm a pantser. So
Okay.
I think because my background's in business, I'm very type A, I'm very left brain, linear, all those things. When I got into writing, it was a free for all with God. And it was just more of like, let me just take the reins off and let you lead and let's
Mm,
co-partner together. So it's a place of creativity and freedom for me to not consciously know ahead of time. Some things I'll get, but it's usually as I show up by faith, like the more will come. So
right.
I just like it's kind of a dance that God and I do where it's like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm very uncomfortable right now, but let's explore and see like where you
Yeah.
lead me.
Wow.
And so yeah, that's kind of how it is for me.
Okay. And how much of you is in Lisa? Like how much can you relate to Lisa?
A lot. So what I would say is Lisa is like in my friend group.
Okay.
If you're familiar with my podcast, Girl Talk It All, that's probably a great picture.
Okay.
There's always like these high achieving, heavy hitting women who are just female leaders and bosses. They are fly, they, love God, they have a good time. They're usually very driven. And so I feel like Lisa is a nod to my friend, one in particular, who kind of inspired me, but
Mhm.
my overall. And then some of the issues she's dealing with, particularly with her parents, I definitely channel some of my experiences. So I think we do that as writers,
Yeah.
fiction writers in
Yeah.
general. So, but yeah, she's definitely someone in my friend group, and she definitely gives Olivia Pope vibes. So I went through
Oh.
the scandal, and that's what inspired me to like red dry wine. And she had like the trench coat and her fashion, and she's definitely like a nod to her for sure.
Wow. As you're writing these books, what made you decide to self-publish?
That's a really good question. So when I first started, I knew nothing about the publishing industry. I just knew I was called to write this book, How to Overcome Heartbreak, Recovering from Misguided Love, which was inspired by a blog post back in the day when blogging was a big deal. And a friend of mine had self-published, and so I really just went that route because that's what he did.
Okay.
Now, what I will say is a few years later, when I got into the fiction writing, I did revisit traditional publishing. It
Okay.
was around the time of the Black Lives Matter movement getting a lot of headway, George Floyd, and there were so many opportunities for Black writers, and publishing houses wanted our stories. So it was easier.
Okay.
So I did look into some, opportunities. There's a lot of red tape you have to go through. You have to get a lit agent, do a book pitch, do a query letter. It's very competitive. You don't know about your rights and royalties and the paperwork. So I started that process and I was looking at some Christian fiction spaces where I thought my work could be well received. Funny enough, I got pushback. I got closed doors. And I was very
Mm.
discouraged. Like, you don't see the vision, you don't see me.
Right, right.
Right? But then I knew in and of myself, like, I did it before, I could do it again, which clearly was God. But, I was like, I already know this. Like, I know how to do this.
Right.
And that was when I got serious and I became a full-time creative, and things have just taken off since. But you go through those no's, you go through the rejection, you go through the closed doors, and it took me years to understand it's really because there's a yes for you in something else. And we can say that it can sound cliche, but when you're
Mhm.
going through the process of the rejection, you feel like
Yeah.
hurt
Right.
and you
Right.
understand and you're confused. And it's only now being older, having gone through it so many times,
Yes.
that I can look back and be like, okay, it wasn't that there's nothing for me. It's
Mhm.
that the more perfect fit for me, you know?
Right. I talk a lot about labor room assistance when we're birthing something. So for you, when you heard those no's and the rejections, or you may have felt a little doubt, Who were your labor room assistants? Who helped push you along?
Honestly, I am so blessed by community. And I think Girl Talk is definitely a reflection of that. So since college, since I had a supernatural experience that really just changed my life, I had it in the midst of community. I had all of these other young people who was having the same experience, and we banded together on campus and we started campus leadership events, funny enough, doing events like I do now, and became close ever since. And then when I came home, I ended up with my pastors who are more like parents. So I've always been in community. I don't have a close blood family. I'm an only child.
Hmm.
I was a parent. My mom transitioned. So I just think the Lord's grace on my life is to make sure I'm not alone. Like he puts the solitude in families. He will not leave orphans. So for me, everything has been like with a tribe. And so even as I walked out the hard things of life and even feeling alone, but I've always had people that empathized with me, that supported me, that saw me, that rallied around me. And so, yeah, I would definitely just, I pay homage to my spiritual family and my friends who are like sisters.
Awesome. So for publishers out there, because there's so many authors and and we've published, self-published these books. Um, what does success look like for you? Like what is success to you? What is yeah, what is success to you?
It's so funny. I ask that question when I do interviews because I'm always trying to gauge, like, what is success? I think God pushes back on me with that word because I have filtered it through a societal lens, which kind of teaches you make this money, you get these titles. Before I was in business, it was like climb the corporate ladder, you check off your checkbox and do these things, right?
Right.
As a creative, you're in a whole different space where a lot of it is qualitative and not quantitative. It's about the lives that you're touching, it's about the impacts on your community. So I do think that I have achieved a level of success. I'll say a level because I know I'm growing and will reach even greater, portions of people with my work. But I think the success is the impact on others, the transformation of lives. Like doing the Indie Author Expo in Cleveland, oh my God. And I'm so used to the warfare. I'm so used to the pushback and the hard things. But I knew afterwards, guys, like, would you just take the win? Because I'm just ready for there to just be some type of hardship and difficulty. And it wasn't. It
Oh.
wasn't. And I'm like, Lord, it
It felt foreign. It felt kind of foreign to you, right? Yeah.
It did. And I knew he was just like, girl, just take the win. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because even when I could tell, and I think I've talked to you about that, I'm like, this just is running smoothly. I could tell, just a person who's being behind the scenes and planning things, you can tell and feel when, okay, there's disorder. And it was a great experience. You didn't feel that. You
Yeah.
looked calm. You looked at peace. You didn't look like running around like with your head
Yeah.
with your
And
head cut off.
he builds you up to those levels. And I've had several years of experience of hosting events. So
Hmm.
even if it's crazy, I'm not gonna show it, right?
Oh,
That's great. That's
right,
great. Don't show it.
right.
But to have the people come and waiting for us at the door and the attendees and purchasing books, and it was like, oh, it's working. So I definitely feel like I am, and I have to, a friend of mine had to tell me, like, it's happening now. Sometimes you're so in it in your mind, your face is laser focused on the ground. Your nose is to the ground, your laser tunnel visioned ahead, and you're just going. And
Mhm.
you don't even realize like the dream is happening, the
Yeah,
promise is holding because you're
yeah,
so in it and
yeah.
you have these other goals. And I'm very goal oriented.
That's me
And so
too.
she had to tell me, like, girl, it's happening now. And I'm like, you're right, it is happening now. So I definitely think I'm walking in success, especially compared to my ancestors and their dreams, which I believe I'm fulfilling a lot of those things with my mom and grandma and those before them.
Mm.
I think it's just as a type A, I have to be intentional to see it because I'll just be like, the
Keep
next
going.
thing,
Yep, keep going. Yeah, yeah. I have a friend who's writing a book now called um something about being, just being, like I think she said, what did she say? Blessed and just being and not just keep striving and doing something and going and going and going. And I thought that I can't wait till that book drops because I'm like, oh, I want to read that because it's just beauty and the beauty of being, just being. So yeah, she's working on that now. But that's true. I have to learn to just sometimes be and stop striving for the next thing and going and going and going, because we're just so conditioned to just keep doing that.
Yeah.
In
And I think it's a balance because he's called us to do this work,
right,
right? I'm busy because he keep opening up all these doors.
right,
He's
right,
like,
right. Yeah, yeah,
so it is that balance of like moving and being purposeful, but doing it out of a place of being in rest.
yeah, yeah. Do you know how to say no?
Oh yeah. I'm
Ah!
very
Ah!
I have friends that struggle with that and people pleasing and things, but that's not my personality. I'm very in touch with like what I have the capacity for and time management
Yeah,
and what I'm called to. It's
yeah.
just like, am I called to that? Is like you could have this name and this platform and this title, but like, are we in alignment? Like, am I called to this? I
Mm,
can't be wasting time doing stuff that's not purposeful. It's like,
right, 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 right.
even the expo, I held it before the Lord, like, is this you? Is this me? And him
Mm.
confirmation. Because I'm not gonna do something that sounds good and it's not him. Like, no.
Which we've all been guilty of. It's good, but it's not God. So let's talk a little bit about ghostwriting, because that is I is like I'm like wow about that. How did you get started with ghostwriting?
Another good question because that came out of nowhere for me.
Hmm.
So I literally was kind of at a standstill with my publishing house. I had started it in 2021. That was a prophetic supernatural experience because that wasn't on my radar either. And I really wasn't getting the clients for like a year. And I remember sitting in a conference thinking, should I continue with this? Like, am I called to this? And right when I was thinking in that, two different people on Facebook tagged me, referring me as a publisher. I'm like, okay, clearly I'm supposed to be doing this. But I wasn't finding the clients I was in alignment with, or the ideal client is what they call them. So I kept saying no to people because we're not in alignment. Like, I'm not called to this. Then
Mm.
I felt like the Lord said it's going to come from Girl Talk. And it did.
Okay.
So, interestingly enough, in 1 year, I got three ghostwriting clients back to back to back.
Wow.
Now, the funny thing is, I had one who was not in Girl Talk, but we started her story. She went through a lot of trauma. I ended up getting these like heavy hitting traumatic stories. Like, Lord, why you keep doing this? And so, I'm walking with that. So her story was so traumatic. It actually was turned into a Lifetime movie, right? So I'm
Oh,
starting to write this book with her. Yes. I'm starting to write this book with her, and we put it on pause because the movie they're about to work on the movie. So the funny thing is I'm announcing this on social media about doing this ghostwriting book. My future client sees it and she's like, girl, you ghostwrite? And I'm like, I guess so. Like now. And
yeah.
so she really was the first one, Dr. Shamar J. Hutchins. She was the first one that I completed the book with her. And then she gives me a referral. And then one of the girls from Girl Talk had been on my heart. I had told me about this book she had been trying to write for years. It just never popped off, and it was a divine partnership. So many of the things she went through, I had went through. It was like writing my own story. And so it was partnering with them in that short period of time, and they all released their books. Dr. Shimon already released them last year, and then Stacy, she's a 6 times cancer survivor. The
Hmm.
level of atrocity she went through were just nuts. And so she just released it a few weeks ago, actually. So that was my experience with ghostwriting. It really just came hard and fast. It was like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing.
Right, right. So I heard you say that you weren't in line with them, certain people, and so you've turned them down. So what ethical lines do you draw in ghostwriting? Like, what do you say no to?
And I think I've had to learn that having my publishing house, and it wasn't just with ghostwriting, it was with all my clients. So I have certain values and views morally, like you said,
Mm.
ethics,
Okay.
and I had to learn like if I'm not comfortable with this topic,
Mm,
I'm producing Christian fiction, right? So there's just certain things I'm not going to include. I may include swearing, but it's going to be sprinkled and it's going to be purposeful and it's going to have to do with the character, not
right,
necessarily me.
right,
But if it's views that I don't agree with, then I can't, authentically express that. Now, even with the ghostwriting piece, there were lifestyles that some of them may be in that I'm not comfortable with, but if it's not promoting the lifestyle and it's promoting your story and the outcome is hope, healing, encouragement, this is something God had to teach me. It's like, okay, let's go.
right.
But I think it kind of looks like that for me, and it's a case by case
Yeah.
basis. I think that's what he's had to teach me too. It's like, let me just feel it out, have this conversation, and see, if we can make this happen, as opposed to having this broad, well, I don't do this, I don't do that, I don't do that. It's like, it really is like that case by case basis of making that decision.
Mm, okay. Okay. What is the wildest story? The wildest thing you've experienced as an author or
Yeah.
a ghostwriter, publisher? What's the wildest story?
Honestly, like working with these women recently in ghostwriting. So their stories, their stories have been pretty wild. So the one that I just referenced, Stacey Kirk,
No,
and
I'm
and
wait, I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't work like that you've experienced like not just their story, but just like any wild story as far as like um maybe issues or surprises or like what in the world is happening here? That type of thing. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily
Okay.
have that. I
Okay.
think
Yeah,
I think for me, this whole thing was wild because
yeah,
I foresee being a creative or being a writer.
yeah.
And then when I started writing When Love Wins, I literally wrote like 8 hours a day. Like I was pouring myself out, and it was coming,
Mhm.
gushing out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to be able to be a storyteller when I never was taught, like I never majored in English or communication or anything creative, and then to have this gift find me and to by faith be like, let's see what's on the other side of this,
Yeah.
and to see it be like successful and become a publishing house and a ghostwriter and do expos and do a podcast. Like it's for me, this has been a wild ride. I'm just like walking by faith, saying yes to the next step,
Yeah.
and learning these new gifts and talents that I have that I didn't even know were there.
Right. Wow. No, I definitely can relate to that because I wrote my book in one day and like it was just like you said, it's just gushing, gushing. And here's the funny thing, I don't like writing.
That's
I
hilarious.
don't. I
Yeah.
do not. I'm the
That's
person that in school, when it was time to write a paper, I'm like double spacing, big fonts, trying to stretch it out. I don't have that much to say. Like I'm like 8 pages. Are you kidding me? I only got 1 page to say about this thing, you know. So, oh no, oh my gosh, I have a coworker. She loves to write, and I'm like, can we just get to the point? Like, I just like she's on and on. I don't like writing. So this and it's funny, 10 years ago, someone told me, prophetic lady, she was prophetic, and she said, oh, you're gonna write a book. And I'm thinking, not me. I don't like writing. She's got the wrong person. She is not hearing from the Lord. 10 years later, God just gushed. And I was writing, taking notes. So I thought, I wasn't thinking it was a book. I'm just taking notes on everything he's saying. I'm like, oh, this is good, Lord. This is for me. Oh yeah, I gotta get myself together. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he's like, share it. Now share it. And I'm like, what? So he knew because he knows. And that's just funny. It was definitely my entry into being an author was just definitely supernatural. So I understand.
Yeah, and I'll say this because this was kind of wild, and you're in deliverance ministry, so
Yeah.
it'll definitely bear witness with you. So I wrote a book last month in 25 days. Okay, so this was wild. First and foremost, that was crazy. But in the midst of me writing this book, I'm about to give my character a dream, a supernatural prophetic dream. And I know, like, oh, it's this house, it represents his life, the bedroom represents his heart. Like, I know, like, these are the things I want to say. And I'm up at 3 a.m. because I have writer's hours. So sometimes I'll just get up in the middle of the night writing. And I end up going to sleep before I write out the dream. And
Okay.
I have a dream. But the wild thing is, my dream is picturing my house, some supernatural things are happening, and it's a warning. And I am like, shake it off. I shake it off. I go back to sleep. I have the same dream. It's a variation of the dream. And it's another warning. And I'm like, oh God. So I got to get in prayer and see, like, what are you talking to me about? What is happening? And it got revealed within a couple of days. Now, this was during the expo. And one of the things he told me to be mindful of was who I was allowing in the expo. And there was certain literature that I knew wasn't in alignment. And then I needed to be careful.
Mm.
I'm thinking I'm heeding it, but there were some things that popped off that did open a door. And he highlighted it like, you got to let this go. You got to cut off this partnership or this connection. And
Okay.
once I did, I had peaceful sleep and I understood that there was an open door through that.
Yeah.
But that messed me up because I don't think I've ever had anything like that happen where I'm about to give my character this experience and you giving me this experience.
Experience.
Writing that book, which was crazy that I wrote it that fast. So many of the characters became so real. It was extremely emotional. I was like, Lord, what is happening?
Mm.
But it was just like so divine. And he was giving it to me in a way that it was like, this is him writing. I became very aware that like you're just giving me the story. Like this is your story. And so I'm excited about that book, which will probably be released next year. And we're in the beta reading stages right now. And I've never done anything that fast before. And he was just showing me take the limits off. Like we are supernatural beings.
Mm.
But also just experiencing his view of us through those characters. It's like the protagonist has a lot of first spiritually, and God was showing me that's how he sees us when we come to him. It's like a baby taking their first steps. And so it was that whole thing was very,
Wow.
it was a lot. I was
That
like,
that is
what?
amazing. Oh yeah, you're taking that's another level in writing.
It was wild. It was like seeing how he sees us when we first come to him, the first time we read the Bible, the first time like we have a prophetic experience or speak in tongues or worship. I was giving my character all of these firsts, and God was showing me like, because
Mm.
I was just in it. It was a
He was
whirlwind.
giving you a first.
Yeah, he was. And it's like experiencing as an author, we get to experience how he is as the author with these characters,
Mm. Oh, that's good.
top down lens, also being in it with them in the journey. But that was wild. Having
That was, yeah, no, I agree.
Lord,
Wow. So now is this your book or you're ghostwriting this for someone else?
this is my book. It is gonna
Yours.
be book 3 in the Devon's Cafe series.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. Oh, wow. Who is your literary mentors?
So growing up, I read a lot of books and I was very close to my grandmother. So often I was reading adult books as a child.
Okay.
Um, like the Danielle Steels. I even read like darker books, like Stephen King books, things like that. I read some kid books too. Like I remember reading Goosebumps and Fear Street and things like that. Sweet Valley High, like
Mhm.
Suburban. But definitely my writing is more heavily influenced by like the 90s urban culture. So back then we had the Fly Girl and the Sister Soldier, coldest winter ever. Some people have told me like I give those 90 vibes in my fiction writing. So that would be like the Black culture part. And then the Christian part, I would say Francine Rivers is a huge, well-known Christian fiction writer. The way that she writes volumes of books and the way that she paints the plot and the detail. And for years, I like divulged her book. I like loved them. I inhaled them. And so I think it's a fusion of like the Black 90s swag with like that Christian literature.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So what's next? I know you
Yeah.
just talked about this third book coming up soon, but what is next? What else can we expect from Nicole D. Miller?
It's like sometimes I don't be knowing. I'm like, what is going on? But I'll say is, early this year, for the first time, we featured men on the Girl Talk podcast, and we called it Something for the Fellas. It
Okay.
was very successful. So that's another like, okay, that was successful.
Mhm.
And it was because we opened up space for men to be vulnerable. And so often they're not catered to in that way. And so it was a leap of faith to be like, all right, we're going to do this for y'all.
Yeah.
They totally stepped to the plate. They're male leaders in our city. And they feel a lot of the ways that we feel when we talk about these topics. They felt the same way, but they don't really have like that space to do that. So everyone wants that again. That
Okay, good, good.
might be a thing. I do have GLAAWC on the way. So GLAAWC is the Great Lakes African American Writers Conference. This is our 8th year, founded by Dr. Leah Lewis, JD. And I am still beyond honored to be the new producer. So Dr. Leah has been a producer for 7 years, and she's passing on the torch to me.
Ah,
As I've done my first expo, it was definitely in preparation to do my first conference. So Glossy is known for bringing in the heaviest heavy hitters of Black literature, New York Times bestselling authors, and all the things. And so we're finalizing our agenda. Save the date, September 27th, 10
okay.
to 5,
Save
10
the
to
date,
5
you go.
p.m. at Cleveland Public Library, MLK branch, which they remodeled it. I don't know if you've had a chance to be there, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, workshops and key speakers and networking and vendors and a bigger expo.
Oh, wow, but you got to be a heavy hitter for that one, huh?
Yes, it's definitely like la creme. And it's during Cleveland Book Fest, which is a whole month now. And the Annisfield Wolf Book Awards is celebrating their 90th year. So that's a prestigious historical award event that's been happening since the 30s. All these top names, Toni Morrison, like all the majors have been recipients. So we're gearing up for that. And I'm a part of that planning committee. And then, of course, I have my book that I'm hoping, to push with Unfinished Business Lisa, and then probably another novel, and hopefully my own memoir. That's something that I started working on, funny enough, when I took a break and did all these other people's memoirs, but
Right.
I wrote my memoir.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. I started mine, but I would be honest, it's hard doing your own because you have to relive a lot of things that I'm not really interested in reliving. I'm like, that was then. I don't really want to relive it, but I think it's good to leave that memoir for the next generation, of lessons learned. For me,
Yeah.
mine is like a lessons learned memoir for the next generation, the things that I've learned, things, but it's like it was hard. So yeah. Um,
And I think too, I'd like for Girl Talk to move into the TV space. So we'll see if that's something God has.
yeah. And now how do you pick people for Girl Talk? Like, is it just the same set of
Um,
women or do you have different women come on?
So it's been both. We
Okay.
do have like an informal members group, which at some point I really want to make this like a membership thing.
Oh, okay.
So I do kind of pull from that pool. But then if there's like someone outside of that group that, it's like, you should come on, like you would be a great fit for this, or we have different features, or we've done partnerships. Like Micah Dixon, she has group chat. So she and I partnered, and that was just divine. So it's kind of like a feel. But now that I have the podcast, I have Girl Talk 101. And that allows me to pull from more people that aren't just in this group and aren't even just in Cleveland. So
Right.
the podcast is like, oh, we can do what you and I are doing now. We can go deep into your story, and you don't have to do the whole panel thing and be in person at an event. So that's been awesome. It's like, oh, I get to, really broaden my horizons with my guests.
Mm. So in all your writings about love and romance and healing and relationships, what is the biggest thing you've learned about love?
Honestly, and this is probably something that isn't a popular thought, but that love is sacrifice. I think that my personal journey with God has really demonstrated that because He has been my husband, He has been my lover, and the cost that He clearly we see it on the cross with Christ. It's like they're two parts of the same coin. You cannot have love without sacrifice. You cannot have love without cost. the demonstration, the greatest demonstration of love is selflessness. And
Mm.
so my goal is to be that selfless leader. So even writing Unfinished Business Lisa, and Lisa's married, and I'm navigating their marriage. Right? So, we like the hot topics about marriage, like sex and intimacy. But even when I was writing them, it's like, oh, we gotta get them in. Like they need to have this time together because they have all these other hard things happening that are like pulling them apart.
Right,
And
right.
so kind of looking at it from a lens that isn't necessarily promoted in society, and I hope is more closer to the original intent of God, that it's about oneness and connection, and it's usually warfare involved, right? And so you're fighting for that oneness. I feel like it's a picture of us with him, like
Yeah.
fighting for that oneness with you, and all these things are coming against it.
Yes.
But I do think that my vision of love has matured a lot over the years, especially since I wrote my first book and I was talking about that engagement and heartbreak and things like that. I
Yeah.
wasn't ready at all at 18 when I was engaged. And I can't say what ready is because I think it's different for each person. But I think for me, the biggest lesson I've learned is that it is sacrifice.
Okay. It is. No, you're right. And that's why the divorce rate is probably high because nobody wants the sacrifice. They they want the fluff and the
Yeah.
bumps.
I will say, my pastors have been married over 40 years, and it's beautiful to see partnership, to
Mm-hmm.
have someone that is on equal footing with you, that you guys are called to execute this assignment in the earth together.
Yes.
And I've been able to behold that. And even when I've asked her, because they got married at 18, I wasn't ready, but they were. And I asked her, I said, how did you make it? Like, what
Right.
helped you make it?
Yeah.
And she thought about it and she said, I just think we understood covenant at a very young age. And
Okay.
I think, it varies by generation too. I think a lot of our generation, sadly enough, and below, we're in the microwave era. It's fast and convenient, and it's not like cultivating that endurance, long suffering, tenacity
Yeah.
through
Roots of the
anything.
Holy Spirit.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, you hurt my feelings, I'm out,
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
having that, the roots and the refinement and the character building to endure no matter what, I just think that that's a gift from God to be able to do that when you're married.
Yeah. Yeah. I asked another elder couple, and their response was forgiveness. That was the key to their longevity, was to be able to forgive one another because we're
Mm.
human and we may not always live up to the expectations that that others
Yeah.
have of us, or we may let people down because we're human, but you have to forgive. And that was a big key for them, is to let things go and move on.
And I would say the closest experience I have of that is my friendships, because I've had these women in my life for 20 plus years, and we do have covenants, and we've lived a lot of life together, and we've definitely had to forgive each other time and time.
Oh, yes. And that's
So,
interesting you say that because I feel like when it comes to women, there seems to be more grace for men, but not for women. I've talked to women and they're like, oh, I don't like women. And I'm thinking, really? But you were dating a man who cheated
get
on
off of
you,
me. Yep.
dogged you, all this stuff. And you don't hate men, though. You don't hate
Right.
men. But what did she do? Or she didn't call you back, or she couldn't make it to your event, or something, whatever. And now I don't like all women or this and all women are you serious? And I really made them think, like, come on, the same grace you want to give to men, you got to have that for women too. Women are important too. Women
That's
relationships
a
are
good point.
important too. Yeah, it's like they're so, I don't like women. And so I run from women like that. I'm going to be honest now. When I see it now, I'm like, mm-mm. And usually they have some issues and things like that, and that they need to get resolved, and they have, some unforgiveness and things like that. But yeah, that's awesome.
And I think you bring up a good point. I think because our society elevates romantic love over friendship and sisterhood,
Mm.
part of it. And so even with my first novel, When Love Wins, is depicting two young female cousins They have a rift in their relationship. They both lost their moms at different points in time. Natalie, who recently lost her mom, moves in with Ashley and her uncle. Ashley is her cousin, and she's giving her the blues.
Mm,
And so, but Natalie feels this call to love her anyway
mm.
and to win her over with the love of Christ. And without ruining the book, it's rooted in some childhood trauma that Ashley had. But the goal of sisterhood, the messaging of sisterhood, even though they have their booze and
Right.
they have romantic relationships,
Yeah.
it's really about that sisterly love that is at the foundation of it. And so I think often friendships and sisterhood and brotherhood get overlooked
Yeah.
because they focus on the romantic.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So where can people find these great books of yours?
You can find my books at NicoleDMiller.com. My very first two books are only available on Amazon, but you can still access them through NicoleDMiller.com.
All right. And where can they see Girl Talk?
You can see it on our YouTube channel. It's at Girl Talk CLE. You can follow it on Instagram at Girl Talk CLE.
Oh, thank you so much. You guys, go get the books. Go watch the Girl Talk, learn, heal, get delivered. Get ready, get ready. Thank you so much. This was awesome. I enjoy everything about you, and I'm looking forward to what God has for you and I to do in the future.
If he clearly wanted you at that expo.
Definitely. All right. Well, God bless you. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch.